everybody, welcome back to A Matter of Life and Need, the podcast of the Beast. I'm Joe Labriola.
And I'm Matt Wagner.
And today we're going to be talking about A Matter of Life and Death, the 2006 studio album from Iron Maiden. Wow, are you guys fucking ready for A Matter of Life and Death? This album is what our podcast is named after, and for a fucking good reason. Let's talk about this fucking incredible album.
It was funny because, like, when me and Joe were, like, we talked about making a podcast, and before we even decided to actually do it, we were just kind of, like, messing around trying to come up with, like, podcast names, and we're like, I don't even know what, like, some of the stuff we came up with. It was pretty stupid, but, like, almost, like, simultaneously, we came up with, like...
Yeah, we both sent each other a text, like, at the same time, A Matter of Life and Maiden. Like, fucking, that's it right there.
And we knew right away, like, because we both loved the studio album. It's just, it was the first studio album to come out after we became, like, hardcore Iron Maiden fans. Because Dance of Death came out, I think, like, right before I started listening to them. But I didn't really listen to, like, the new stuff. I was more into, like, the classic Maiden listening. I didn't really follow the band. I didn't really know a whole lot about, like, different albums and all that. But I mean, like, the build-up to A Matter of Life and Death coming out, and it finally coming out, I mean, it, like, blew us away.
Iron Maiden's 14th studio album in 2006, A Matter of Life and Death. I mean,
it's cool because, like, we've caught up to, like, when we became Iron Maiden fans. Like, now it's, like, now we're, like, before we were kind of, like, reliving the past and talking about Maiden, we weren't there. We weren't fans when, you know, Somewhere in Time came out or that kind of stuff. But we were fans when A Matter of Life and, you know, Death came out. We were there. We, like, you know, we can relive it now. It's kind of cool.
It's, this album, just to get some, you know, stuff out of the way here, was recorded in Sarmwa Studios in London, in England somewhere, the same place they recorded Dance of Death, so it's the same studio. But the album itself is, Dance of Death's a great album. I gave it, I think, 8.5, and I gave it 8. Great album. This album, like Matt said when we were talking about Death on the Road, they take everything they learned from Dance of Death, like this album that was like a learning experience, and they take this and just fucking overhaul everything. This album isn't a concept album, but it is the closest thing to a concept album they've probably done since Seven Son of the Seven Son. The themes of war and religion are prevalent in every fucking song on this album. And what Matt and I talked about in our introductory episode of the podcast, how we would start going, like, after we listened to an Iron Maiden song, go get, like, a movie that was based on it, or go get a book that was based on it, we discuss it with each other. A Matter of Life and Death was, like, the first album that we started doing shit like that. Like, the song The Legacy, which we'll get to, we thought was based on Jacob's Ladder. It's like it was a rumor or some chat room or something that was based on Jacob's Ladder. So we went and got Jacob's Ladder and watched it. We're like, oh, it does make sense. We're trying to find, like, the polarities and the similarities between the song and the movie. It was like, holy shit.
We're still not sure if the song's about that or not.
But it was great to figure that out. Like, to actually have that, like, this album.
That's what I said. We're living part of, like, the history. Even, like, Benjamin Bragg, all the discussions about what that song was about, and if, you know, who is Benjamin Bragg and who is he supposed to represent and all that kind of stuff. It was fun. It was fun to, like, figure out, like, back in the day.
And the band was, like, tricky, and they put a bunch of stuff on there, like, oh, he was this.
Yeah, they made his own webpage.
Yeah, made a webpage and all that stuff, and said he was, what was he, like I forget what happened. He was it like a grave digger, like a mortician or some weird shit like that? It was,
yeah, and he, like, I guess we'll get to the song, but, like, he was, like, I don't know, talk to the dead or whatever. Like, he'd come through and you could, like, hear their thoughts. Relive their lives.
Yeah, it was really cool. Benny Bragg, too, was, like, one of the first, another one. I think this is the third Iron Maiden shirt I ever owned. I had a Benny Bragg t-shirt. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, we're getting out of order, so
love it.
Yeah, we'll just start with, like,
Different World.
The first song, Different World, and I think it's a step up from Wildest Dreams. Joe kind of, like, always liked Wildest Dreams a little more than I did, and I always liked Different World a little bit more than Wildest Dreams, but, like, it's a similar song. Yeah. And it kind of, like, has that feeling that, like, it starts the concept of the album, it being about, like, war, religion, politics, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like Wildest Dreams more than that, but I think Different World's a better song. I like Different World more than Wildest Dreams. It's an Adrian Smith song, so I like. My problem is when I listen to Adrian Smith songs, it's hard for me to, like, this isn't what Adrian was thinking at this point in time. I have no idea, but I just, like, try to pretend that I know everything. Different World's an amazing song. When I first heard the song, I mean, it's really different. It kind of harkens back to, like, the Peace of Mind stuff too, where Nick is talking backwards in Still Life. Nico says "Ready!" like at the beginning of it, and it's pretty cool to hear him have like.
I'm not sure what he said. I always thought he might have said like Harry, like for Steve Harris.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
Harry or Eddie.
Harry, yeah, like I don't know what he says, or maybe maybe some British thing. Maybe out there somebody's British out there can listen. Maybe it's like a soccer chant. I don't know.
But yeah, it's interesting to hear. I love the melody of the song. I love the lyrics of the song.
What I really like about this song is that it has like a chorus and then it has like a post-chorus like bridge part.
Yeah.
I really like that because it's like we kind of talked like the last album about like No More Lies, about like the chorus for that was No More Lies, No More Lies, or even Blood Brothers, where it's just like we're Blood Brothers. Not that it like it's bad. It's just it's fun to like have that complexity, that ability to listen to it. It makes the song more listenable and you can listen to it over and over.
And I love when the Matter of Life and Death, the album came out, there was just like a compilation DVD that came with it that had like some of them doing like stuff in the studio. They talk about making the album, and when Bruce sings like the lines where he's like, "Don't wanna be here somewhere I'd rather be," and he's like saying it with so much like energy. He's like grabbing his throat because he's like, oh man, he's putting every ounce of his voice into the song. It just sounds fucking
like I
amazing.
said, it's so cool. You almost have like two choruses to the song because you had like the Tell Me What You Can Hear and Tell Me What You See. Everybody has a different way to view the world. And then you said you had that Don't Want to Be Here Somewhere I'd Rather Be. But when I get there, I might find it's not for me, you know? Like that's kind of like going off the war. Like
I love it.
Yeah.
Don't know what I want or where I want to be, feeling more confused the more days go by. I love it.
And
I love it.
Obviously, like Adrian's solo in the song is like awesome.
Oh my god, it's disgusting. This podcast is gonna be long as shit. So you guys know right now because I mean we're on a different world. I could go on for this song. Adrian comes out.
This
with
is like
fucking,
the least complex song on the album.
He comes out with a Gibson fucking SG with like a peace sign on it, and he's fucking like shredding the solo, and it's like, oh my god, please, this is the first. Yeah, exactly. This is the first song on the album. Are you fucking shitting me? Like, as much as I love Wicker Man, as much as I love Wild Streams, there's something about Different World that is like just fucking. Oh my god.
Yeah, I guess Wicker Man's probably a better like song overall, but like Different World has that kind of like ability to it set the mood for the album that like this is going to be kind of like a complex thematic album. Like there's going to be deep themes in this. And this is like what it's setting the stage for. It's kind of cool.
It's gonna be different. No pun intended. It's gonna be different.
It's a different world here for Iron Maiden.
Yeah, it is.
Like I said, like Dance of Death was kind of like the precursor to this, but A Matter of Life Maiden perfected those themes.
Matter of Life and Death.
You
did.
We were just talking about like that we were gonna screw up and call it A Matter of Life Maiden. There we go.
But you're right. It does. Yeah. Our podcast does it.
Definitely perfected Dance of Death.
You're right. You're right. The album does do that, man. And another thing I love about it too is this is 3 opening tracks all written by Adrian Smith. It's fascinating, and that's kind of one of the reasons too, because like you're gonna sit there.
They do it the next album too with Final Frontier has one, and then they finally mix it up there with Book of Souls or Bruce writes the first song. But it's cool that, like I said, they had this like set plan of what they do with albums, and this is like. This album is that plan like perfected. Like it's Absolutely. The perfect version of what they like to do.
And after that, satisfying opening with Different World that sets the tone for the album, you go into the song These Colors Don't Run.
Yeah, These Colors Don't Run. It always reminded me of kind of like a more mature modern version of the Trooper in a way. Lately, when they play concerts, like if they don't play the Trooper, they play These Colors Don't Run. Like they don't play the songs at the same concert, so it's kind of like I think them too. Like they view it kind of as like a modern Trooper.
Yeah, and even if you look and we'll talk about the artwork later, the covers are pretty similar too for the art for that kind of stuff. Some of the art that was written around like the stage set and stuff like that. I love These Colors Don't Run. Some of my favorite lines in it are "It's the same in every country when you say you're leaving," and that just for me just shows you that. Iron Maiden cares about you. They're not really strictly just about the British military, and that's what Matt's talking about. Like it's a more mature version of the Trooper. But the Trooper was about like a British soldier in the Crimean War. This is like written from a soldier's perspective. It is, and it's about war.
Yeah.
But it's not just a British soldier. This is about like people in general. The same in every
soldier.
Country. Yeah. When you say you're leaving, when you leave your home and you go off to fight a war, no matter where you're from, you're still going to experience that loss, that disconnect.
Yeah, we've been kind of like pointing out like. almost on every album that like the all-star of the album. Like I thought maybe Davey was the all-star of Peace of Mind, or Adrian Smith's album was Somewhere in Time. I think A Matter of Life and Death is Bruce's album. I think every song he puts that like energy and passion into his vocals, and I think he vocally sounds the best out of all the modern albums on this album. This is another song where he just kind of like has like those pre-chorus for the passion, for the glory, for the memories, for the money. You're a soldier for your country. What's the difference? All the same. And then far away. I mean, the choruses in this album are far superior to those of the Dance of Death album.
And I think even to a certain extent, Brave New World.
Yeah, like I think so. And like, there's a lot of like things that we're gonna end up saying like, oh, this is a lot better than Dance of Death, and in a lot of cases, Brave New World too. And like this song is like I like it more than like The Mercenary or something like that. Like it's quick. It's kind of like a medium paced rocker. It's like it's really good. It has like a lot of depth. It has like those great choruses and pre-choruses, and they're not just like repeating the same thing over and over again in the chorus.
I agree with you too, man. I will say this though, a little different view of maybe than you. I do think Bruce has a fucking outstanding performance on it. It's definitely better than, like you said, Brave New World or Dance of Death. But for me, I think the MVP of this is everybody. I think everybody on this is fucking outstanding.
Yeah, I can see that too, because they all end up writing like. Not only do they end up writing like good songs, they all write like great songs.
Oh, absolutely. Nico's drumming this too is like fucking.
Every once in a while, like we'll say, like, oh, Davey song's good on this album, but it's not great. Like Dance of Death, his Rainmaker song was good, it wasn't great. But in this album, they all three, and then you include like Steve writing songs, and Bruce. I mean, they all write great songs, which is incredible.
It's amazing, and this is where we see that trio too of Steve, Bruce, and
it's kind of a staple of the modern Maiden that the three of them writing great songs.
So really, who are the three of them? The guitarist or Steve, Adrian? I mean, just kidding, but. Really, that's
the writing trio. Yeah, they're the trinity of Iron Maiden writing.
Absolutely. And then if these colors don't run, isn't like disgusting enough, and we can sit here and.
Well, I'm not saying it's not the best song in the world. I'm like, don't ever say it. We're not like saying every song's a 10 out of 10, but it's a good song. Like it's better than your kind of like average song on Dance of Death. It's a step up. Like it's an improvement.
It's great, and then they go into probably the heaviest song that they've ever written in their entire catalog to this day. Yeah. Brighter Than 1,000 Suns, which is about the Manhattan Project and Fat Man and Little Boy and like dropping nukes on.
It's not like it's not fast heavy. It's not kind of like it's not thrash metal heavy. It's like
doomy.
I love that like beginning. Like that beginning guitars. They just have a little bit of the part like right at the beginning they just have like a little bit of. Crunch on them, and they get like super heavy.
Oh yeah,
it's just awesome.
When they go around to like that's disgusting.
I mean, I'll bring this up too about this album is that I think this is the first modern Iron Maiden album that had kind of like modern sounding production where the guitars were like heavy, and they've stayed heavy now through the last couple albums. Where before in Dance of Death and A Matter of Life or Brave New World, the guitars weren't what we think like modernly as being heavy guitars. They were kind of like 80s heavy, or that kind of sounding. Now they're like modern, like their guitars are like thick toned. They have a lot of fuzz on. I mean, they're really heavy guitars.
Yeah, they are, and that's one thing, man, that you bring up is awesome because they are really heavy. And this album is probably the heaviest album that they've ever.
I think it's the best production album that they've done too in the modern
era, yeah, by far. And Brighter Than 1,000 Suns, lyrically, another thing about this album, this album is probably on par with Seventh Son, if not better.
I think this song is the first one that they kind of like, they took from Dance of Death, they took the song Dance of Death, they took Passion Down, and they said that's what these fans like really love. Like our modern fans, our hardcore fans love those two songs. And then in this album, they end up writing like 5 or 6 Dance of Death / Passchendaele type songs where they're longer, they're more complex. Mm-hmm. They have deep lyrics. They're heavier. And this is like one of those songs. And this is like, for a long time, this was like, one of like, if not my favorite song on the album. and it's still like obviously like one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, there's nothing I don't like about this song, like Shattered Fingers, Rise Above, Iron Finger Stab, The Desert Sky, Oh Behold the Power of Earth, Are you children ready for the fall? I mean, like, it's one of the songs like Passion where you just sit here and like read the whole.
Your son is the evil twin.
That's probably my favorite. One of my favorite lines in the whole song.
I love it.
The other lyric I really like is "Out of the universe, strange light is born. Unholy union, Trinity reform."
Everything in it's awesome. E equals MC squared. You can relate. How we make God with our hands. I love the part 2, the fucking breakdown. Bury your morals. Oh my god, dude. Bury your.
We have to talk too. I mean, probably a good time to mention like what happened before this album was made was that Iron Maiden did the Early Days tour, and when they came to the U.S. instead of doing their own tour, they toured around with the Ozfest, and they would come on right before Black Sabbath would close, or Ozzy would close. Black Sabbath wasn't around yet. Just Ozzy would close. And Iron Maiden is not used to, like, ever since, like, probably after Power Slave, that they've closed almost every, like, festival. They're, like, the main liner. So they ended up only doing, like, an hour and something minute show. And Bruce wasn't happy with, like, the production of Ozfest. They kind of cut corners, let's be honest. I mean, Ozfest wasn't known for, like, their musical quality of their, like, set. So Bruce would say, like, little lines like, we're going to come back, we're going to bring our own stage set, our own PA, we're going to have good gear. And Sharon Osbourne kind of took offense to all this, and she thought he was running Ozzy down and all this stuff. So the last show of the Ozfest tour, I think it was in San Bernardino.
I think so, California.
Yeah. Sharon got together with some band, members of other bands. I think it was, like,
Bury Your Dead.
Bury Your Dead. And, like, one of the lines in this song was,
bury your dead, bury your head in the sand.
I think that's like
about,
like I think Bruce took that like super personally, and like that whole incident where they threw like eggs and all this crap at the band while they played, and it kind of ignited modern Maiden. I think like it got a lot of attention, media attention, and I think they took it like personally, especially Bruce. And I think that's like what fueled this album to be so great is that like anger and passion and energy that he felt. He was like, you know what, I can do an album, 10 times better than Ozzy can do now, or 100 times better. Like, we're 10 times that band. We're not just out there playing like old classics over and over and over again, like a shell of our former self. You know what, we're gonna do a modern day classic, and I think that's what he did with like A Matter of Life and Death.
Exactly, I think it's what I did too. Probably 1,000 songs.
So thank you, Sharon Osbourne for
pissing off Iron Maiden and Bruce Dickinson, and so they go out and do A Matter of Life and Death, probably the greatest album since the reunion.
Yeah, greatest album since like Somewhere Time or Power Slave or way back then.
I agree with you, and better than 1,000 songs, man. We could sit here and talk about the lyrics on this album day after day after day. It is.
I like the last line of the song too. Holy Father, we have sinned.
Yeah, and it just fades out.
Like this song has like, it's so unique, and I think that's like a signature that wasn't on like Dance of Death really. It got like a lot of like same-ish songs on Dance of Death, and I don't want to bash on Dance of Death like too much, but I'm just pointing out that Maiden evolved and they progressed from that album.
Yeah, I agree with you, and you know what? Coming to what you say there really makes me think. Remember how we were talking about Seven Song, and how I said, sometimes if you have a concept album, it kind of limits you to a certain extent, right? I know this technically isn't labeled a concept album, but those themes of war and religion are paramount throughout this. And this does the exact opposite. They focus on war and religion 100% on this,
and it gives a focus. Yeah,
unbelievable.
On other like you said, sometimes like concept albums are limiting, and sometimes they're focusing, and that's what kind of like this thematic album was like a focus. Like this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to write great songs about war and religion. I mean, and this is right up there. I mean, this song is as good as modern Maiden really gets.
Oh, absolutely, and it's fantastic. Better than 1,000 songs. Thank you for that song. Heaviest I've ever done.
I always love it. Like sometimes I put my I listen to Spotify and I put my Iron Maiden like on shuffle, and man, when this song comes on, it's like yes.
Exactly, same here, man. And this is the reason why we love modern Maiden so much too. We love Brave New World. We like Dance of Death, but this album is the reason why we are, as we were so fucking excited for this to come out. Brighter Than a Thousand Suns is one of the big reasons.
Yeah, they actually before this album was released, they released a couple of songs off of it to stream on their website back then, because it wasn't really YouTube back then. And it's hard to believe, but YouTube wasn't really around, or if it was around, it was kind of sort of becoming popular. And you had to go to the website and they'd stream. You could sit there and listen to the song streaming, and this was one of them that they released before the album. They released Reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg, I believe, first, and they released Different World. Yeah. And this one, I was excited when I heard, Reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg, obviously, and, Different World was exciting. But man, when I heard this, I was like, oh my god, this is
gold.
Yeah, because this was modern Maiden, and it rocked. It was awesome. They weren't just resting on their laurels here, and this is really good stuff.
And then after Brighter Than a Thousand, another thing about Brighter Than a Thousand Suns before we move on. I mean, so far I want to mention this too. We talked about Adrian's solo. These covers don't run solos amazing. Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, the fucking solos in the song. Wow, are they fucking mind blowing? They are disgusting. Disgusting. Adrian's solo. Fuck. Baby. Disgusting. Man, it's ridiculous. Does Yannick have a solo in this? I don't know. But I just know the sound of the solos in this. I've never seen the song live. They are sickening as fuck.
Yeah, it's one of those songs that I wish we get to see live at some point, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Just wanted to get the solos out of the way for Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, and then we'll move on to the Pilgrim, which we talk about Dance of Death and that folky sounding acoustic stuff. Here's the Pilgrim.
It kind of has that kind of feeling, and maybe it could have been on Dance of Death, but I think this song is just kind of your average song on the album. You're kind of the songs that go in between your really good songs. And what makes this album so good is that your kind of average songs on the album are really good songs. And this is what Pilgrim is. I mean, it's way better than Gates of Tomorrow or kind of your average song off of Dance of Death. How much better is this album than that? This is your 7th best song on the album.
Yeah, this is a Yannick song, so you have that Dance of Death feel, which is kind of cool. He does that folky stuff a lot. And this actually, if you watch the behind the scenes of this album, they were actually thinking about calling the album The Pilgrim. It was one of the names of the album they were thinking about calling it. And Steve says when they talk about the song that it's about the Mayflower. It's about the Pilgrims coming around the Mayflower to the Americas and discovering America. That's part of it. So really cool. And if you listen to the lyrics of the song too, liberty and hope divine, change in our water into wine. So to you we bid farewell. Kingdom of heaven to hell. Spirit holy, life eternal. Lift me up, take me home. Pilgrim sunrise, pagan sunset, onward journey begun. Kind of a critique of religion as well too. What's the Pilgrims?
I like this song because it has that kind of I talked about earlier with These Colors Don't Run, how it had a chorus and it had a post-chorus, and that's what this has too. It says, liberty and hope divine, changing the water into wine. And then it goes that Spirit holy, life eternal. I think that just those little added things make it that much better than kind of your average song. You could take a short 5-minute rocker and you can make it interesting still just by adding those chorus and having a bridge, or don't sit there and repeat the same thing over and over again in the chorus. It makes the song really interesting to listen to.
Barney says, no false angels that I hear, only that I will confess to my eternal hell. I love that line. Yeah. It's what does religion mean? Why did the Pilgrims come to America? Is they're Puritans. What do they? What does that mean to them? I mean, what's the point of it? Is there something better out there? It's kind of really a kind of talking about immigration too, to go away from some kind of hostile place where you're getting treated like shit, to go somewhere where you feel like you can belong and be your own person, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this album, like you said, it's kind of like a modern Power Slave in a way that everybody in the band here is contributing. This is a Janik song, and it's not even his best song on the album. It's still really good.
Absolutely.
You need these songs to make a great album. Not every song on an album is going to be a 10 out of 10, but what makes a good album great is when your average song on the album or ones you don't skip. This is one of those songs that I don't really ever skip.
Absolutely. Then after the Pilgrim, we go into The Longest Day, which is about the D-Day landing.
Yeah, we talked about this song before because, for a while I thought maybe this might be like the worst song on the album. And, like, I think, like, a lot of this podcast, too, is maybe, like, reevaluate things. And you, too, like, we had to, like, go through and, listen to the X Factor again, listen to Virtual 11 again, and kind of, like, makes you reevaluate, like, hey, maybe the albums weren't quite as bad as, we thought. And this is another song, this kind of, like, fits that. This song is, like, I think for a long time I hated this song because I thought when, like, the track listing for this album came out, I thought this was going to be like Passchendaele. And I thought it was going to be that good. We're like looking through, like, oh man, what do you think's the best song going to be? And we're like, well, Longest Day is probably going to be the best song, because it's going to be like Passchendaele. And it wasn't. And it's not anywhere near Passchendaele. And a long time, I think we kind of like hated it for that.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I was hoping it would be something like Passchendaele or akin to that because we're huge World War II fans. We love that part of history. And having a song called The Longest Day, I mean, there's movies about it, there's books about it. It's like, we saw that, like Matt said, we're like, oh shit, this is going to be fucking great. And then, honestly,
it's about D-Day, man. Like, this song's going to be amazing.
You listen to the beginning and you're like, oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of like, not that it doesn't, like, peter out and, like, falter and, like, crash and burn. It just stays, like, stagnant the whole way through.
It doesn't get that gear.
Yeah,
it doesn't get that gear that, Passchendaele gets.
It doesn't have that, like, apex after apex after apex after apex. It starts off really, really good, and it sounds, but then it kind of, like, just stays the same.
It's just, like, it's not, like, a Maiden epic. It's an average song.
Yeah.
It's, like, like I said, like, Gates of Tomorrow on this album, or, I don't know, like, it's just, like, an average song on the album, which is fine, but we thought it was going to be better than it turned out to be.
And we kind of got disgruntled by it and kind of lost over it a lot of it. I used to listen to those albums constantly, and, I'd listen to The Longest Day, and I'd still think, I was hoping for Passchendaele in the back of my head. But listening to it more recently, like Matt said, after doing the podcast and stuff, you listen to the album, you reevaluate things, I've grown to like it a lot more. We were talking about that,
Yeah, I like I said, I listened to it a couple times here recently, and it's not a bad song. It doesn't suck, but
Bruce's vocals are really good when he starts singing.
I think it's one of those where it has, like, a couple, like I said, like, kind of the theme of this album here is, like, it has these different, like, vocal lines where it has that, like, in the gloom, the gathering of the fates, the ship's inlet, eyes awake, and then it has it goes into, like, a different pre-chorus almost, and then you have the chorus, how long on this longest day. That's what makes songs interesting, and I think that's why this album's so listenable. And you can listen to it, like, over and over, as me and Joe have probably like 100 times we listen to this album. And that's what makes it, like, great and interesting.
Yeah. My favorite lines in the song, well, I like the part where he says, Overlord, your master, not your God, because the name of the operation was Operation Overlord for D-Day.
Yeah.
And I think that was cool that that's in there. And I like when Bruce sings, and honestly, this is the part that, like, conflicts me, because I like the way he sings the song. But I wasn't hoping it would go in that direction. I was hoping it would be, like, more happy. And it turns out being, like Matt said, like a regular average song that you can hear. But when he says, sliding we go, only fear on our side. I love the way he sings that, though. It's good.
Like I said,
the edge of the wire. That's awesome.
You think it's going to be like, oh man, this is going to go into something. And then it says, how long gone the longest day? It's like, huh? Like, that's not an epic course. My favorite part of this song is I always like the song, or the lyrics. Valhalla waits, Valkyries rise and fall, warriors' tombs lie open for us all. A ghostly hand reaches through the veil, blood and sand, we will prevail. I like that part too.
I like the one before that too, where he says, the rising dead, faces bloated, torn. They are relieved, the living wait their turn. Your number's up, the bullet's got your name. You still go on to hell and back again. I like that part too.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, we kind of wanted this to be like Passchendaele, and it's not. It's not anywhere near as epic or as good as Passchendaele. But for what it is, it's a fine song. Like this is like an average song on the album. Like it's not like one of your great ones on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an average song. I mean, what would you rank it out of 10 if you had to give it a rank?
Like before I started listening to it more, probably like a 2 or 3. But now that I've kind of like came to appreciate it a little bit more, I don't know, like maybe like a 5 or 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably like a six and a half maybe for me. It's
a song I skip sometimes, honestly. Like, it might still be, like, it's probably still, like, the second or third worst song on the album, but, like, it's not a bad song. There's no bad songs on this album.
Yeah, they're all great. What about the next track, Out of the Shadows?
Out of the Shadows is probably, like, one of the more interesting songs, and it's probably, like, the one that fans kind of bash on the most, because it's not, like, your typical Iron Maiden song.
Yeah, or Longest Day and that kind of stuff, you know. So far, we've talked about Different World, which is basically like, you know, introducing the stuff, how to live your life. It's about belief. It's kind of in the vein of religion. These Colors Not Run is obviously war. Burning a Thousand Suns is war. The Pilgrim is pretty much religion and, you know, that kind of stuff again. Longest Day is war. Out of the Shadows goes back to that religion and belief thing again, which is the concept, basically the themes of the album, war and religion. Out of the Shadows is, you know, if you watch the behind-the-scenes documentary, Bruce says it's about being born. It's about coming into the world. It's about being born.
Well, yeah, the album's about a matter of, you know, life and death. This is, you know, beginning of life here, so, I mean, it fits the theme of the album, you know.
King for a Day is one of the lines in the song. It's like basically when you're a kid and you're born, like when you're sitting in a hospital bed and you're born, like everybody's there. You are the main attraction. You're the king right there for the day. You're just a newborn baby introduced to the world. You're a king. And that the lines in the song, he says that, you know.
I like the lyrics, I like the line, you know, princes of the universe, your burden is the way.
I like that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of lyrics in this album that are just, like, really great. Like we said, like, this is probably the strongest lyrical album they've ever written.
Yeah.
Just in terms of complexity.
Oh, yeah.
And all that stuff. I mean, it's not classic made, so it doesn't have, like, you know, those lines like, you know, the trooper, I'll take your life. You know, you take my life, but I'll take yours too. You know, it's not like that kind of classic, but it's, like, in terms of maturity and complexity and that kind of that thing. Like, it's
I think it has everything in this album. It has maturity, the complexity, it has the emotion of the other albums from the 80s. It has all that.
I love the chorus too.
Oh,
like, I think Bruce really sings his ass off.
Yeah. Out of the shadows and into the sun, dreams of the past as they always have done. I love it.
Yeah. Now, this is just a Steve and Bruce song, so it's interesting that those two, like, only contributed. Like, a lot of these songs are Steve, Bruce, and Adrian. This one's just, you know, Steve and Bruce.
Yeah, and I love the line at the end of the song too, where he says, "A man who casts no shadow has no soul." It's kind of like fizzles out.
What do you think that means? Man who casts no shadow has no soul.
You know, initially when I first started listening to it, I thought about vampires. Yeah. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's basically saying, like, look, you know, if you have one life to live, do the best that you can. You know, if you're not going to leave your mark on society with what you live, and you're not doing that every day, then where's your soul at? Like, is your heart in the right place? It's kind of what I think it means now. If I had to guess, you know, is your heart in the right place? Are you really living your life to the fullest? Are you going to leave your mark on society?
Yeah,
leave that. You know,
you're going to cast your shadow. Like,
yeah,
get out in the sun. Like, I think too, it has that kind of, it says out of the shadows and into the sun. Like, going out into the sun. When you're out in the sun, you cast a shadow. So you have to be out in the world to make a difference and cast a shadow.
Which is kind of funny too, because then again we talk about vampires. Vampires can go out, so you know, they don't cast a shadow. That's kind of interesting, though. You know, like in the back of your head, like it's kind of cool, you know.
I don't know. Maybe Bruce is thinking about vampires. You know?
Maybe it's kind of like a little double meaning there, sort of, kind of like a illusion a little bit.
Maybe he was watching a lot of like Twilight or something.
Maybe. I doubt it. I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, After Out of the Shadows is as awesome. It sounds like as that song is. Another thing with that too is like the beginning with Dave coming in with the guitar is really cool, and there's acoustic parts too. And Out of the Shadows.
It kind of is interesting. It's an interesting song. I can see why some people don't like it.
Yeah, it's different.
It doesn't sound like classic Maiden. It has like it's very atmospheric. It almost sounds like early like solo Bruce stuff from his like first couple albums.
Sort of. It has that journeyman vibe too a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But then after that, if you weren't satisfied with Out of the Shadows, it's a little too late for you.
Taking a little breath. It was just the album was just taking a little breather.
Yeah, a little breather, because these next couple songs are going to be fucking ridiculous. This is probably like one of the best runs on any album they've ever done in a row. Songs that are just like fucking ridiculous. But the reincarnation of Benjamin Bree. What a long ass title, but definitely worth it. I mean, what the hell does that even mean?
It was a strange title when you first saw that like track listing. Reincarnation of Benjamin Bree. Like, what is that about? And it starts off like really weird. It has this like like Davey's doing it, like he has a guitar and has like a lot of delay on it, and Then Bruce comes in, let me tell you about my life, let me tell you about my dreams, let me tell you about things that happened, all was real to me, let me tell you of my hope, my need to reach the sky, let me take you on an awkward journey, let me tell you why.
Let me tell you why.
That line there, like, let me take you on an awkward journey, is kind of like, it kind of sums up the song. Like, this song is a little awkward and strange, and its opening is, like, kind of weird. It's like, man, where is this going? And it kind of, like, goes for a couple more stanzas here with this kind of guitar, and it's very, like, atmospheric, and then it just, like, stops.
Oh my god, that fucking riff is like heavy as fuck.
The first time I heard the song, I was like, oh my god, like, because like the guitars in this album are like so much heavier than they had been in Iron Maiden, and this is like another example of that, where the guitars, man, they're just like super heavy, and it's just
this song, man, like
that riff is like one of the best. It's right up there with probably like Wicker Man riff as being the best of it.
20 years from now, like when you look back on like A Matter of Life and Death, this song is going to be like no shit here. Like, this is my firm belief. 20 years from now, in 2038, you're going to look back and say, like, people are going to look back and say, Reincarnation of Benjamin Brink is like fucking classic. It is so reminiscent of like Number of the Beast, like epicness. Like it's that epic.
Yeah, it has that classic Maiden feel, but it has like that modern like twist to it too, where it has like complex lyrics. They're more refined musicians now, and it's just like.
It's like Matt said earlier, like, it's like Passchendaele. The way I see this album is like, Hallowed Be Thy Name, right, is so complex and so atmospheric and all that shit. Take Hallowed Be Thy Name and then make like fucking every song Hallowed Be Thy Name. And
yeah, it's basically what they did, like Passchendaele and Dance of Death. They took those songs, were like, hey, let's make an album with like 10 of those. And they I would say like 6 or 7 of the songs are like that, where they're like Passchendaele, Dance of Death, like, it's like, in a way, you know, I'm not saying the songs are better than Passchendaele, or they're not all, maybe not all better than Dance of Death, but they're more refined, like, it's more progressed to, like, another level. It's really great. Like, I love that line, like, why should these curses be laid upon me? I won't be forgiven till I can break free.
What did I do to deserve all this guilt? Paid for the sins for the sake of my soul. Demons are trapped on the
that's
side
one of my favorite lines, yeah.
My hopes are gone, reach for heaven from hell. My sins are many, my guilt is too heavy.
There's another point here, like, I kind of, like, said about how this album is, like, has those, like, verses, and they have, like, a chorus and a bridge vocally. That's why I love this album. So I think vocally this album is, like,
oh my God,
far superior to
everything.
Brave New World, and maybe anything they've ever done. Like, not that Bruce like has the range that he had in the 80s, but in terms of, like, the complexity of the vocal lines, I think it's the best.
And I hate to compare this to Seventh Son because it's pretty similar kind of thematically, but when we talked about Seventh Son, we interviewed the album, we're talking about how great the lyrics are, right? And that's a great highlight of that album.
Yeah.
The thing that's great about A Matter of Life and Death is it's fucking everything that's great about me. Like, the guitars are great, the drumming's great, the lyrics are great, the music's great. Like Matt said earlier, there's 6 or 7 epics on here. Like, it's fucking amazing. Like, it is, in a Reincarnation of Benjamin Brady, like Matt said earlier with that awkward journey line, the entire fucking album is awkward journey. And it's like, amazing though. Yeah. Like, from start to finish, this album is fucking an awkward journey. It's a hell of a ride, but it's like fucking worth, like, it's so surprising. Like what Matt said when he heard like the beginning of Reincarnation and then like the riff comes in, like Brighter Than 1,000 Suns, and you hear that, what the fuck is it? Like it's so damn good. It's so awkward, but it's like a good awkward.
Yeah, like Davey has a tendency, like modernly, to write, even in the past, to write kind of like these like weird, awkward songs. They're not kind of like your straightforward Iron Maiden classics. I mean, besides maybe like Rainmaker, because even if you look at like Brave New World, it's a little different. And then later on, The Man Who Would Be King is really different from what they normally are like. And even I think Davey has a different kind of sense of music when he writes music. And this song is like that too. It almost feels like, I don't know for sure, but like I don't even know if this song is a 4/4 time signature. Like it almost feels like it's different, like it's in a different signature.
It does. Another thing I want to touch on it too is it's only 7 minutes and 21 seconds long. If you guys listen to our podcast episode where we talk about Iron Maiden, the album, we talk about Phantom of the Opera, how it feels like it's like double that length. I get that vibe when I listen to Reincarnation of Benjamin Brink. When I hear it,
it feels like
15
10 minutes
long.
Yeah,
it's like, but it's only 7 minutes and 21 seconds. There's so much shit packed into the song that it's like, wow, it's mind blowing. It's a mind blowing song.
Someone to save me, something to save me from myself. So, what do you think this song is actually like about? Do you think it's like, I guess it's like a funeral home director, or I don't know, like he's living out the lives of people that come through?
To bring salvation, to exorcise this hell. I think he has, if it's based on that thing that they put on the webpage, I think if it's based on that character, Benjamin Bree, it's about, like, I'm thinking about the Sixth Sense movie, like with Bruce Willis and whatever that kid's name is. I can't remember his name.
Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, Osment. Haley Joel Osment. You hear these voices and, like, it's driving you crazy. And almost to a certain extent, too, of, like, what would it be like if God, like, if you were God, and everybody was praying to you, and you have all, you ever seen the movie Bruce Almighty? Remember Bruce Almighty when Bruce becomes God, and he's like,
hearing all the voices.
He's like, oh my God, like, he's like, please, will somebody please save me? I think he says that, like, somebody please save me. It's like, you have all these people just whispering inside of your head, and it's like, how do you answer all their prayers? How do you not drive yourself? And how do you help these insane people without going insane yourself? It's like, how do you do that?
Like the line, I know they are crying for help, reaching out. The burden of them will take me down.
Yeah, like, it's gonna break me to help all these people.
The sin of 1,000 souls knocked out in vain. Reincarnation of me live again.
Yeah, exactly. So
what do you think has reincarnation has to do with it, though?
Well, I think it's just a metaphor. I think he's saying the souls are reincarnating themselves in his mind by speaking to him, and now he's taking them on. He's basically becoming them because he hears the shit constantly.
See, I think like a lot of people when this song came out thought maybe Benjamin Brigg was like the reincarnation of Eddie. He was living out these lives of Eddie, or maybe Eddie is Benjamin Brigg, as in, you know, we see Eddie through time and dimension and all that. Maybe Eddie is reincarnating in all these people.
Maybe
that's what he meant.
Yeah,
like he's the trooper. Maybe Eddie was this character. You know, Eddie was a member of the Light Brigade. Eddie was a pilot in World War II. You know,
and all these souls who have passed on and died. Benny Brigg is like the person channeling that stuff.
Or maybe he's looking back on his life of all these people that he lived through. Like Eddie was all these different, you know, obviously being like a Light Brigade, charge of Light Brigade would be a traumatic experience, or being a pilot in the Battle of Britain would have been a traumatic experience, or whatever else, you know.
And I like you mentioned that too, because, like, again, I hate to compare it to Seventh Son, but it has that kind of clairvoyant sort of vibe, you know?
It does.
But I think much better than some of the stuff on Seventh Son.
Not to analyze the song too much, because it's just an awesome kick-ass song.
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Solos kick-ass.
It has, like, we didn't talk about Davey's solo. I mean, if not his best of
the reunion.
Yeah, if not, it's probably a top 10 all time for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot because he has so many fucking iconic solos.
We saw it when we saw the Final Frontier, and he goes and he stands like on the, you know, he
walks out on the platform.
Yeah, he just stands there. And it feels like it's like 3 minutes long, but it's probably like, you know, 30 seconds or 40 seconds, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, this song, man, it's
just like he goes out like right into the solo, like and it's like bam, and he goes right into the back into the riff. It's awesome.
It's this song. I mean, I know we'll beat the dead horse. We're talking about Reincarnation, but it's so fucking good. If you guys haven't listened to A Matter of Life and Death, I mean.
Yeah, like sometimes, like, you have a tendency not to listen to a band's newer stuff. You just like the classic stuff. Yeah. You kind of get stuck in a rut there. You just kind of listen to the old stuff over and over. And it is hard to, like, reach out and listen to new stuff. I mean, it does take effort. And sometimes you don't want to put that effort in. But I think A Matter of Life and Death is worth every second of that effort to get into this album.
Yeah, you know, we're sitting here talking about Reincarnation, Benjamin Brigg, and it made me think of something. I used to teach karate classes. I'm a secondary black belt. I was in karate for like 15 years of my life. And every Wednesday I would teach a karate class at a local gym here in town. And I remember what I wanted to do was I wanted to introduce people to music. And I said, every class, I want you guys to bring a CD in. We're going to listen to what I want to listen to the first couple minutes, and then I want you guys to listen to whatever. And the CD that I brought it in like maybe 10 times. I brought in A Matter of Life and Death. And one of the kids, I I was teaching his kid, his son, and him both martial arts. They were both white belts. The guy used to play in bands, and he played metal, he played rock, and he was, he's from New York, but he moved up here because he got married and had a kid. He was a huge fan of Maiden. He said, I stopped listening after Seven Son because
a lot of people did. Yeah.
I put A Matter of Life and Death in it. He said, will you please, and burn me a copy of this CD, please. And the first song that I played off the album was The Reincarnation of Benjamin.
I think that is that, and Bright and the Thousand Suns were like the songs you would introduce as album to people too. If you just play one song, like those are the two I'm the easiest to get into.
And I would say I would stand after karate class with him because I was an instructor. All my students would leave. I would stand and talk to him. His name was Tim. I talked to him, and his son's name was Tim too. They're both named Tim. I talked to him for like half an hour. He's like, dude, thanks for burning me that CD. He said, Reincarnation of Benjamin, pretty amazing, love it, Bright and the Thousand Suns. Like, we're saying like, and he hadn't heard any Maiden since the 80s. Like 88 was the last time he listened to Maiden, and he was like, whoa, holy shit, like just blown away by it. Yeah.
And we were too.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, I just wanted to throw that in there. But once the beat, The Reincarnation of Benjamin Bree, we move into yet another fantastic song for the greater good of God.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like thematically, I think like what the album kind of encapsulates here is this idea of like religion, war, and Steve kind of like pondering those ideas here and like writing it out in a song.
Are you a man of peace or a man of holy war? Too many sides to you, don't know which anymore. I love it. So many full of life, but also filled with pain. The lyrics in the song are beautiful. I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, Steve wrote this, and it's...
Yeah, I like that. A life that's made to breathe destruction or defense.
I love it too.
A mind that's vain corruption, bad or good intent. I think like Steve like really put a lot to this song. Like compared to like No More Lies, like this song's a lot more like complex, a lot more lyrically like meaningful. And I think that's like kind of like a staple of everybody in this band. They put that much more effort into this album.
A wolf in sheep's clothing, a saintly sin. Some men would believe a holy war winner. The British are screaming. If I have many shots and many parting bars. I love it. One of my favorite lines in the song is the second part. I don't have the lyrics here, but where he says, as they search to find their bodies in the sand, they find his ashes that are scattered across the land. And he says something about famine, death, and war.
Religion. A shot is fired somewhere, another war begins.
Yeah.
Religion. And all because of it, you'd think.
We learn. Body count, city fires burn. It's like religion has a lot to answer for is one of the lines of the song. And it makes me like, yeah, you know what, it does. Because what are we going to fight these wars for? I think this was about September 11th, I'm pretty sure. Wasn't this about
if you go back to the reason why they kind of like picked war and religion as a theme is because you had 9/11 and then you had like the war in Afghanistan. Now we're from the U.S. This is from the U.S. perspective here. And then you had Iraq and the U.S. kind of like went in alone in Iraq, but like the British and the U.S. are like very strong allies. So the British public was much more against the war from the start than the U.S. population was. Now the U.S. eventually population came around and saw the war for like kind of what it was, which was like an oil grab and having presence in the Middle East. But the British were always kind of more anti-war than the U.S. was right from the start. And this album came out in 2006. So the war was like, 2 years old, right before the U.S. election. I mean, the U.S. was pretty anti-war by this point. Yeah. And this was kind of like what it encapsulated was that Iraq war feeling, and religion was kind of like a overarching cause of it, I mean, in a way, because of the Islamic extremists, and then you had Christian values in the U.S., and so you kind of had like this overarching theme of the war.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what else I was thinking of when you mentioned this? I think it harkens back to Dance of Death to his Face in the Sand. But not only Face in the Sand, but I know how we just talked about on Death of the Road podcast with West Fallen Hall in Germany and stuff like that. We're talking about the 30 Years' War in the Holy Roman Empire, and that war that was based on religion. It kind of harkens back to that too.
I mean, a lot of like modern wars had a lot to do with, even in the past, like all wars have a lot to do with religion to some extent, or becomes about religion to some extent. The reason why is because of religion is usually a good way to get like the population, really into a war. It's like people feel strongly about religion. So if you think, something's, challenging your religion, or somebody out there's trying to wipe you out because of your religion, it's an inspiration to like take up arms and fight and die for. I mean, there's not much in this world that I think a lot of people would openly die for, but religion is one of them to like a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I like the lyric too where he says, "He gave his life for us, he fell upon the cross, he died for all those who never mourned his loss. It wasn't meant for us to feel the pain again," and then he says, "Tell me why, tell me why." So like, what's the point of fighting for this religious cause when the whole point of your religion is peace?
Yeah, he's kind of had this like it's a bit of a juxtapose, because he says, "Please tell me what life is."
Yeah.
Then you tell me what love is. Now tell me what war is.
Again, tell me what life is.
Then tell me again, because you say, "Oh, the war's about what's life about?" Well, life's about living and being happy and having a family and making your mark on the world. What's love? Well, love's about embracing other people. Like you shouldn't harm your neighbor. Love thy neighbor. That's what they teach in, Christian religion. And then, okay, what's war about? Well, war's about going out there, killing other people. Well, tell me what life's
about again. Yeah. Just a refresher memory. Yeah, you're right.
So war and life aren't compatible. Now, obviously, I'm not saying like war is like sometimes war is necessary, but was that war necessary? No, I don't think there's one person in the entire world that could argue that the Iraq War was a necessary war.
Yeah, Iraq or Afghanistan, either place.
Well, yeah, like maybe Afghanistan to a different extent, because we felt as Americans, were attacked. We had to stop the terrorists from ever doing it again. I mean, that's only fair. But in Iraq, it was kind of like an unnecessary war from any perspective or any point of view. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody left, just outside of like Dick Cheney, that would argue that war had to be fought.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. But I like how you said that too, because that really brings up the whole point of the title of the album, "A Matter of Life and Death." Tell me again what life is. Tell me again what war is. Tell me again what love is. I mean, it's kind of like the whole thing. The whole theme is really, really stated in that song.
See, what do you think that last line? He says, "He gave his life for us. He fell upon the cross to die for all those who would never mourn his loss." Do you think that's about like Jesus Christ? Like he died for all those people like in Africa that never never knew who he was, or what do you think that's about? Or do you think it's about like a soldier kind of dying and people never like we didn't know personally?
I think it's about both. I think it's about people who think that religion and they have to follow every single step, and if you do this, you're going to hell. And it's not about that. Like I think it's about
it's a metaphor.
Yeah, I think it's about misinterpretation of religion. Like I think it's a stab at those people who are saying like, listen, we talked about this before. I'm a spiritual person. I think that there's something out there, but I'm not going to force that down your throat. And I think it's like those people who say like, because you're not Catholic and you don't believe in this, you're going to hell. And it's like, you ate fucking meat on Friday, it's lying, you're going to hell. It's like, really? He gave his life for us, he fell upon the cross, like, and died for us? You guys don't even mourn his loss. You're worried about like eating meat on Friday as opposed to like somebody who sacrificed himself to better yourself. You're supposed to be the person who says, you know what? Eat meat. It's not going to hurt you. You're a good person. Like, that's what it's supposed to mean. Like, to a certain extent.
Well, I think it's not that, like, you're using, like, Lent as, like, an example. Like, yeah, it's not, it's like a religion is, like, a personal thing.
Exactly.
Like, you shouldn't project that out. And I think that's what, like, the war was about, like, the Islamic extremists, like, were projecting their religion out, and then the U.S. and its, like, Christian values were projecting that out. Like, we're going to bring Christian democracy to the Middle East.
And I love it, too, because he says, tell me why, and he says holy war in the song a bunch of times, and it reminds me of the Crusades, too. It's like a hearkening back to that, too.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously, that's kind of like even the Pilgrim at the beginning, like you said, it does kind of have, like, a Pilgrim vibe from, like, the Crusades, even though, like you said, it was about the Pilgrims coming to America, Mayflower, but this album does have like a crusade vibe to it, like a lot of times.
It does. It works incredible. I love it. I love this album. After For the Greater Good of God, we have, this is one of my favorite songs of the album. That might be my second or third favorite on the album. Lord of Light. Wow. This Lord of Light, what's that about? Does anybody know who the Lord of Light is? Is it about like the nightlight by your bed? No, the Lord of Light is Lucifer, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. And we're talking about Number of the Beast, and how they say we're not saying this. Well, they're not saying this, but the song is, I mean, it's about Lucifer.
It's actually where Number of the Beast wasn't about
Satan.
Satan and Lucifer. Now this song is actually about.
But if you watch the behind the scenes, Bruce says they wrote the song. This is about Lucifer. This is about the Lord of Light, Lucifer, and the whole idea of the song is maybe he got a bad deal. Why did the devil? And here's the thing. And I was thinking about this the other day, right? We talk about war and how people are out there killing each other. And why did Lucifer get banished to hell? Because he said humanity is like a waste. I'm not going to battle them. They're like evil people. And to a certain extent, he was right. I mean, there's so many wars out there killing people. And I mean, I'm not saying he is right 100%, but I'm just saying if you look at it from his perspective.
I don't think either of us believes that like Lucifer is a real person.
Lucifer's a real person. You're right. Yeah. But I mean, if you're looking at it in terms of
a philosophical view, yeah, I mean, like kind of like having sympathy for the devil, kind of Rolling Stones kind of thing. But yeah, like, does he have a point? Yeah, he has a point. But I liked it. I like getting back away from like too much philosophy and stuff. Like talking about the song is like this is another one that's like a little awkward. The song is, but it works. I mean, it works perfectly. Kind of like Benjamin Bragg. Bruce has like this voice. He's like, there are secrets that you keep. It sounds like
he's
strange. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I can't reach things I can't see. You don't see this strange world quite the same as me. Don't deny me what I am. Nothing hidden. Still, you failed to see the truth. These are things you can't reveal. This is another song where it's like super heavy compared to like anything Maiden's ever done.
And he just fucking screams like, spiral path leads to the maze, down into the fiery underworld below. I am ready to lead the way. In this part, Lucifer was just an angel led astray. And then the part is like an explosion.
Yeah, I always say this song is like Bruce in like God mode. Like he sounds like Lucifer, like singing like the lyrics. Like
this song fucking.
It's one of his best lyrically like his chorus lyrics are like some of the best he's done.
Back when I first had like an early cheap ass like $25 flip phone, you could buy like ringtones for like $4. I bought this ringtone, and every time my phone rang, I would just like fucking rock my head out like, oh, because my ringtone was the actual chorus, like, free your soul and let it fly.
Took Joe like 7 rings to pick up his phone.
Yeah, because I listened to it. To the Lord of Light.
Hey man, what's going on?
I tell him that too. Like, Matt will call or something. I'm like, dude, sorry, I was listening to Lord of Light.
gotta listen to Free Your Soul and Let It Fly. I like the part where he says, keep your secrets and rain on me. All I see are mysteries.
I love it too.
We are not worthy in your black and blazing eyes.
We gather demons in the mirror every day.
The bridge of darkness casts a shadow on us all.
Our sins to you.
I like the part. I really like the lyric. Free your soul and let it fly. Always reminds me of Hallowed Be the Name a little bit. But
that's great.
Mine was caught. I couldn't try. Time returns again to punish all of us.
And it's like then Nick is the drum. He's like. We are cast out.
Just think about like this song compared to like Dance of Death stuff. How much heavier this stuff is. I mean, this is like not only is it heavier, like musically, it's almost a metaphor for the fact that it's heavier lyrically, it's heavier musically, it's heavier. Complex. The complexity is a lot more. I mean, you can learn how to play like songs off of Dance of Death pretty quickly. Like Age of Innocence isn't a hard song to learn how to play. Gates of Tomorrow isn't hard. These songs are like a little more complex to learn. Yeah. Like there's different, the music changes, the melodies change. It goes from the dynamics on this album. It goes real soft, clean guitar, and then it's just dan.
And that part where fucking they do the like speed up thing, like niggas like and it's like
oh yeah,
and then
I like that you're talking about that part. It's like the guitar's like screaming. It's like
oh man, I think Adrian has a solo before that. Then they go into the part of Davey solos. It's like what the fuck.
It has that. These songs have that extra gear that they hadn't had in a lot of other reunion songs up to this point. I love Brave New World and I love Dance to Death, but this is like everything you imagine Iron Maiden could be getting back together.
Oh, absolutely. This is like they figured out the formula for those first two albums and just perfected it. It's unbelievable. Lord of Light. Wow. If you guys get a chance to listen to this album, man, when you get to Benny Breed and like you listen to it, every song is epic. Every song after that is epic. It's like having 4, 5, 6 Hallowed Be Thy Names, and like on the album, and it's like you're just fucking.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's like a secret up to this point, but me and Joe love the epic Iron Maiden stuff. We love the epics. Those are our favorite songs. Like I said, like our favorite songs are like How Be a Name, Run Ancient Mariner, Phantom of the Opera, Passchendaele, Alexander the Great. You know, that kind of stuff is our favorite.
The Himalayan.
Yeah. Those songs are like when we go see them live or we listen to the albums, those are our songs that we look forward to. We think those are the best songs on the album. So when they made A Matter of Life and Death, and they had like 6 songs like that, you know, that's why we love this album so much. It's because like every song is like what we love.
And Lord of Light, just a fantastic song that makes you think. You know, we sit here and we talk about the lyrics. Now we get to the crown jewel. I know I say this on every podcast, the crown jewel. You guys are probably like, he fucking says that every podcast. You know what? I don't give a fuck. It is the crown jewel, alright? The legacy. The fucking legacy. Oh my god. Not good, man, because I don't even know where to fucking begin.
There's another song that's like really awkward and weird to start out with, you know? Tell you a thing that you ought to know. 2 minutes of your time, and then you go. Tell a tale of men all dressed in black. Most of them not coming back. I mean, me and Joe before we did the podcast, for years now, me and Joe just like messed around and came up with like, we'd rank all the Iron Maiden songs, or we'd rank all the albums, or whatever, and we ranked the best lyrics of any Iron Maiden song. We came up with like a top 10 or 15 list, and The Legacy was number 1. That's what we thought was the best lyric album. Not that it's classic Maiden, not saying like it's Trooper or it's How Be Thy Name, but as in like reading the lyrics and looking at them, I think they're the best that Iron Maiden's ever written.
Like Matt said earlier when we went through this podcast about how mature the band is when they write things down. This is the coup d'etat. This is the number 1 song that we saw on that list that we made, and there's a reason why. I mean, like Matt was singing the lyric from the beginning there, Bruce says it like real soft and quiet, almost like he doesn't want to play it, like he's whispering almost, and it sounds like really eerie sounding and kind of like, he's like this.
Some strange yellow gas. I think the line, some strange yellow gases play with their minds, kind of like, it really encapsulates what this song's about. Has red in their eyes, removed all the lies. As strange as it sounds, death knows no bounds. How many get well? Only time will tell.
And Steve, behind the scenes DVD, when we're talking about the legacy, he says, it's like, you know, this really eerie, scary, like nursery rhyme at the beginning almost. And he's right. Like, you listen to it and you're like, it's like somebody's telling you a ghost story almost. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, if you get chills, you're like, what the fuck? And then
they tell you things, like 2 minutes of your time, and then on you will go. Like it almost reminds me of like
somebody's putting a curse on you or something.
Yeah, like you're walking down the street and there's like some guy, like some, I don't know, some like gypsy in a shawl or something. He's like 2 minutes of your time, and then on you'll go. Like, let me tell you a little tale here, and it's just kind of like, dude, get away from me. But you stay and listen anyway because you're
mesmerized.
Yeah,
by it.
You're like, listen to this guy. He's like some strange yellow gases played with their minds.
And he's sitting there putting a curse on you. It's like very Twilight Zone-y, like really kind of.
I love it.
Oh, me too.
I love it.
It's the perfect version of it.
It's a song that I can see. Like, there's a lot of people that hate this song, that they think it's like the worst song on the album, and I think it's a little shallow. Like, I think that people. I'm not saying that it has to be your favorite song, like it is, like me and Joe, like one of our favorites, but you have to like appreciate every song for what it brings and what it gives, and like this song has a lot to give if you give it the opportunity to really like delve into it and experience it and listen to it more than once. So you just can't listen to it one time and be like, oh, you know, I didn't like it.
You have to embrace the uniqueness. Where here's the thing with Massive, there's a lot to give. Every Iron Maiden song is unique, but some of them, if you sit there and try to embrace the uniqueness and you listen to it, you're not going to get anything out of it more than what you initially thought. this is not one of those songs. Like, this isn't like Gates of Tomorrow. Like, yeah, it's different. You can sit there and listen to it, but you're like, it's still not great.
I mean, this for a long time was like our favorite song off this album. I don't know, like it's hard for me to like pick now because I really love like Benny Brigg and Bright and the Pound Sun is really good, but this is probably still like my number one song on the album.
Number one song on the album, man. I mean, it's hands down.
If you love this album, you love the song.
Absolutely. The lyrics, I mean, I wish I could sit here and read every single
you lie on your deathbed now. What did you bring to the table? Now let's talk about what this song's about. Okay, so you have a guy, like, there's some strange guy, like, I don't know, like what you're saying, like, he's going to tell you a story. Now he tells you what the story's about. It's about, like, this guy who's done some regrettable things in his life, to say the least. Like, he's done some awful things. So, you lie on your deathbed now, what did you bring to the table? You brought us only holy sin. Utter trust is a deadly thing. To the prayer of holy peace.
And I was lying underneath.
So it's a guy who, like, guaranteed peace.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, hey, I'm going to bring you guys peace. And what he brought was, like, the opposite. What he's brought was war and death. It almost reminds me of, like, somebody... I remember reading something somewhere that they thought maybe the song was about, like, Woodrow Wilson. How he promised, a peace then, or war to end all peace. Or peace to end all war. He's kind of, like, going to bring everybody peace. Like, we're going to have one last war, and then we're going to have peace forever.
And you have the Great War?
Yeah, and this is kind of like what that sounds like is you promised us peace, but we didn't know what was lying at us peace. How could we be such fools? And we thought you were the answer. I'm not saying the song's about Woodrow Wilson, but like about a character like that. Like a person that a society put all their trust in. That they, like, stabbed in the back and brought them all war and death.
Yeah, I think it's also about lies, too, like, because it says here, like, just as clear as all the sweat upon your brow really makes sense. I can see it clearly now. Like he's almost in a spell.
It's kind of like a Hitler, where Hitler came out and said he made all these promises, or Mussolini, or like a lot of great leaders, I guess, of the past, or terrible leaders, when they look at it. And they promised a lot of stuff, and they obviously didn't.
Tangled up in a web of lies, could have been a way to prophesize, unaware of the consequence, not aware of the secrets that you kept, nothing that we could believe to reveal the facade of faceless men, not a thing that we could foresee, now a sign that would tell us the outcome. You had us all strung out promises, just like you said.
But all along your covered plan was to deceive. Can you put it to rights now? Only time to tell your prophecies will send us to hell as well.
And I love that part when they go into this part. Living on a golden sun.
Yeah, this song has like 4 different parts. Like, that beginning eerie part, and then you have like the chorus with like, you lie on your deathbed now. And then you have like, you had us all strung out on promises of peace. I mean, like that's kind of like what I've been talking about with like this album is that what makes it separate from like kind of like almost anything Iron Maiden's done is like these interesting, intricate, complex, different ideas that they interweave together, and it's great.
And the part where he says, just think what a legacy you now will live, and they come with that, and like,
yeah, it changes again. Like, now we're in a different gear.
It gets so heavy, and there's so many fucking solos, like, shit's going ballistic.
This is like the climax. Not only is this the climax of the song, it's the climax of the entire album.
And the last 2 lyrics, we have to say that because I fucking love them so much, man. I can't. They do the solos, it gets heavier now, and it's just like,
I like to, like, you have like, you have like Bruce like vocals that are layered on top of each other. You have like a high one, and then you have him singing lower, and it sounds incredible together.
Seem destined to live in fear, and some that would say Armageddon is near. But where there's a life while there's hope, that man will so.
See, not to interrupt you, we'll keep leading, but like the kind of like juxtaposition here is that you had this guy he deceived, he promised them peace, but he was actually giving them something else, and then at the end here is kind of like almost like trying to have hope, trying to like say like, there's people out there that do bad, but there's a reason to live. It's a matter of life and death.
Yeah, it's what do you do with your life? Yeah. It goes back. It fits with the Out of the Shadows.
There's good and bad. There's life and death.
It fits with Out of the Shadows. What are you going to do with your life when you're born? It fits with Reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg. Are you going to help these people even though you're suffering? Will you sacrifice yourself to help these people?
There's sadness, but there's hope, and that's what like is kind of like the last lines here.
My favorite line in the entire song.
Why can't we treat our fellow man
with more respect and the shake of their hands? Anger and loathing is right. Death on the sides is becoming a way of life. I love that part. My favorite part is this part right here where he says, We live in an uncertain world where fear, understanding, and ignorance is leading to death. Only the corpses are left. This fucking line right here.
Yeah.
For vultures to prey on their bones. I fucking love that line, man. It's so good.
I mean, it was funny because, like, when me and Joe were doing, like, we were debating together, like, what the best lyrical Iron Maiden song was, and I believe number 2 was Blood Brothers, maybe, or, like, Hallowed Be a Name. It was one
Infinite
of those songs.
Dreams, I think.
Oh, Infinite Dreams, that's what it was, yeah. And then we were, like, I, like, pulled out my phone and I was, like, reading the lyrics, and it was this part, you know, like, at the end. But there's some not wanting peace. Their whole life is death and misery. The only thing that they know, fight fire with the sheep. But if they do stop to think that man is teetering right on the brink, but do you think that they care? They benefit from death and pain and despair.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting there
and it's like,
and I was like, man, seriously, because I was looking at it too, and I was like, dude, seriously, just put it up right now on YouTube, on your TV, and you did. We listened to it, and I was like, how the fuck? We listened to it, like, how the fuck is that not the best?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, how is that not the best?
We agree, like, I know, like, it's maybe, like, unpopular among, like, Iron Maiden fans, because we love, like, the classic stuff so much, and we understand, too, we're the same way, like, it's hard for us to put stuff above the classic Iron Maiden stuff, but I think, personally, and Joe thinks the same way, that the Legacy, lyrically, is the best song that Iron Maiden's ever wrote, and it's not the best song they ever wrote, but it's, like, up there, it's, like, top 10 or 20, like, it's really high.
And after, I was texting Matt and talking to him a couple days ago, maybe a week ago now, but, I think A Matter of Life and Death, the album in itself is...
This is why we're like, so big Iron Maiden fans. I think, like, if Iron Maiden didn't come out with new, great albums, what would we have to, like, look forward to, and what new would we have to talk about? I mean, it's hard for me to imagine doing, like, as much as, like, some bands, like, a Metallica podcast, because, like, their new albums are, like, okay, but they're not great. Like, this is great new albums. Like, these albums you sit here and debate and talk about and appreciate, and like me and Joe have for the past, you know, this album's been out for 12 years. It's hard to believe.
We've been listening to Maiden for 14, 15 years now. I mean, we're getting old, but I mean, like, that's
it doesn't seem like this album came out 12 years ago. It seemed like it came out like 3 years ago.
It does. It seems like it's like as fresh as Book of Souls in my head because I've listened to it so many fucking times, and it's everything about this band. The guitar work is perfect. The musicianship is perfect. The lyrics are perfect. The legacy, like Matt just said, this album,
the legacy, the climax of the legacy is like I said, the climax of the album, and it's perfect. Like the album, the way the album's structured from start to finish, and for it to end on the legacy like it does there, it's like ending a concert with Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's ending it the right way.
And this is a Yannick Gear song, everybody. Just in case you were thinking it was just solo Steve or Adrian or Dave. This is the song that changed my opinion of Yannick Gears. This is my opinion too. This is Yannick Gears. I'm gonna say it now. This is my opinion. His best song that he's ever done. Yeah. Period. For the band.
Like before this, like he had a couple good songs on Brave New World. He had Dance of Death, which was really a good song. We're like, oh, okay, maybe he's okay. And then he came out this song on A Matter of Life and Death, and it like was me and Joe's favorite. And it's like looking at each other like Janik Gear's song is our favorite song on the album, and it's like we have to give it up to Janik that he's part of the band. He became part of the band with me and Joe on this song.
Absolutely. Because
he's not replaceable now.
We talked about in an earlier podcast how Adrian's my favorite guitarist of all time. Dave Murray is Matt's, and
got to give it up to Janik.
You cannot discount Yannick Gears now in the modern era. He is just as good as Dave.
He's as much part of the band as Dave or Adrian. Period. Exactly. I mean, not that he has to be your favorite. He's not our favorite, but he is an equal part of the band as anybody else. He is Iron Maiden.
Guitar solos on here, great. Like I said, musicianship, great. Instrumentation, great. Everything. Lyrically, I'm going to say it now. Me personally, I think this is the best lyrical album they have ever done.
I agree. I think Seven Sons is number 2. I think it's number 1.
I think so. I think it's the heaviest album they've ever done.
I think by far, actually, I wouldn't say it's even. I don't even think it's close. I think it's number 1 by a pretty good margin.
It's a pretty good margin. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, Seven Sons is really good, but this is definitely a lot better lyrically, more mature.
Just because, like me and you have that philosophical, political, we were interested in that kind of historical stuff, and that's why I think
we have appreciated it.
So maybe out there, like, it's not your favorite, that's fine. Like, but for me and Joe, it's our favorite.
All right, man. Now that we've talked about a matter of life and death, let's round it up here and get that rating action going.
Well, let's talk about artwork.
You want to do listenability? That's what I mean.
Oh, listenability.
Let's do part of the ratings here. Yeah, listenability.
To me, it's perfect 10.
Perfect 10. I don't. For me.
I mean, the only little lull in the whole thing is that you have like Longest Day and Out of the Shadows back to back. That might be kind of like a little lull. Like you have like the first part of the album goes up until it climaxes with Brighter Than 1,000 Suns, and then you have Longest Day and Out of the Shadows. Maybe get a little breather, get a little rest, and then it's onward and upward from there. It goes right up from there.
Perfect 10. If I could give it more than 10, I would, seriously. Because I give
our scale, we don't have the Spinal Tap scale.
Yeah.
Our scale only goes to 10.
It's a perfect 10. And it's almost a fucking 11 if I could carry it over.
It's like right up there with Brave New World for like perfect listenability.
I think it might actually be a little bit better, in my opinion.
I think the good song, the really good songs on A Matter of Life and Death are a little better than the really good songs on Brave New World, personally.
Now we talk about artwork. What about the album cover? The album cover, man. What do you think about that? It's not that great, right? No, it's fucking incredible.
I love it. I think it's probably personally my favorite artwork out of the modern albums.
Yeah, Matt and I had a discussion about this. I was saying, Final Frontier is more classic, blah, blah, blah. And then looking at it again, I was like, I'm fucking wrong. It's definitely
the one, yeah, like the thing that I think you were not upset about, but you took away from it was that Eddie was not as prominent in the cover. But I think that's like what makes it like so great is that you have like these skeletal representations of the band. Like you have like Nico skeleton sitting on the tank. You have Adrian in front with his his bandana on. You have Davey. You have Bruce on top of the tank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one's the only problem I don't know is which one's Janik and which one's Steve. Like, is Steve the one in the front, like with his arm out, or is that Janik? Or who's standing in the back? Those are the two I don't know. Because I think the one like in the middle left is Davey.
If you're talking about personalities and stuff, I think the one in front would probably be Yannick because Davey's kind of.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's Davey. I'm saying is that Steve though, because Steve has that front and center thing too, where he'll stand like in front with his bass out.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only two I don't know. But the other four, I'm pretty sure.
Definitely the one in the tank is Bruce, the Eddie.
It's awesome. Like it's not, like I said, it's not super prominent, but just the colors, the greens and the browns, and the gun symbol with the Eddie face. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, guns and the flag with two cross guns. I love it too. And another thing about this is done by different artists. This is done by Tim Bradstreet. He's actually an American comic book. He did a lot of comic book cover designs and stuff like that. And he did this. This isn't Melvin Grant. This isn't Derek Riggs. This is and this isn't that stupid computer generated he's on Dance with Death.
Not that guy. Let's never bring that guy back.
David Pratchett or whatever his name was. This cover kicks ass. If you look at it, I think the tank is actually from Korean War era, if I'm not mistaken. If you ever,
it's like a big Cold War tank.
Yeah, it's bad as shit, and it's badass shit. It's incredible. The cover is, for me, the artwork just for the cover is a 10 out of 10. The single covers, they did the reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg. Holy fuck! We talking about Melvin Grant not being here for the cover, well, he's there for a single cover.
And he definitely knocked it out of the park. I mean, a lot of people make the connection to Live After Death, and it's hard not to.
Rightly so.
Yeah, but here, like, the color schemes are different. Everything's different. I mean, it's so. I think you had a T-shirt with this on it. I mean, this really brought, like, I don't know, like, Maiden's always been really connected to their artwork, and this artwork really got the fans, like, excited for the album.
It's basically Eddie with a gravedigger pickaxe. He has long hair and, like, his chest is open and is exposed. He's standing over a grave that says Benjamin Brigg. There's a question mark and all this kind of stuff. Like,
it says, "Here lies a man about whom not much is known." It's in Romanian, which kind of makes it seem like it's kind of like a Dracula sort of thing.
And the artwork is disgusting. He's in a graveyard. He's a gravedigger. Like, Eddie's a gravedigger. It's a completely different version of Eddie, too. Like, it's a new version of Eddie. He's a gravedigger. Like, how cool was that? Like, incredible. Like,
why is he digging up Benjamin Brigg?
Yeah, why is he digging up Benjamin Brigg? What's the significance of that character? And it's so ambiguous and just fucking phenomenal.
We're still, like, it's been 12 years, we're still talking about who Benjamin Brigg is. Like, I don't know.
And the Eddie on the cover looks reminiscent of Live After Death mixed with Number of the Beast. He's kind of like both of them. I don't think he's lobotomized in this one. There's no lobotomy on his head, so he's more like the Number of the Beast Killers version. But he looks fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really harkens back to Fear of the Dark too, like the coloring on it, like the cover of Fear of the Dark. It's like a mixture of Live After Death and the Fear of the Dark cover put together.
It's 10 out of 10. It's great.
Another 10 out of 10 album cover. And then there's a Different World cover, which I like a lot too. It's not fantastic, but there's two different versions of that. There's Eddie's holding like the world in both of the versions.
I mean, I honestly don't like it near as much as the other ones. It kind of reminds me of going back to kind of like Dance to Death era artwork. It's kind of like computer generated kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, it does. I think the one, the alternative cover is more computer generated feeling, but I think the initial cover is actually not too bad. I like the starry background. I like, Eddie holding the thing in his hand, but it's definitely better than any of the Dance to Death single covers.
Oh, before.
And I give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it like a 6.
I like it a lot. And then some in the back, we don't really talk about.
Well, the other artwork too with this album was that a lot of people had that the guns with the Eddie face.
Yeah,
there was like T-shirts with that. I seen a lot of T-shirts around. Like it was really cool symbol of the album.
Yeah, also their stage set stuff. These covers that are on this looks like the way it's drawn is like almost like a trooper, but Eddie's holding like a flag in his hand, like scrunched up, and he's wearing like a full military like commander suit, like an upper officer kind of suit, and it looks really cool for the concert tours, and the stuff they did for that was just incredible.
It had a great feeling. You really felt like that it had like I hadn't had that kind of feeling with Iron Maiden artwork in a while.
Exactly.
Since the classic albums, like it finally, because this artwork in Iron Maiden is so important and it needs to have that. And I think ever since this album, they've done it again. Like it kind of revitalized the artwork.
Yeah. For the most part, I think overall the artwork gets like a little hit because of the Different World, maybe. So I'm giving like a 9 out of 10 overall.
Yeah, I agree. It's really, really good though.
Yeah, it's definitely really good. And then what about, obviously the production? We kind of talked about that earlier. It's Kevin Shirley again. And Kevin Shirley.
I think he got some gripe for Dance to Death. I agree. I don't like the Dance to Death production a whole lot, but I think the A Matter of Life and Death production is great. I think it's it has that atmospheric feeling when it needs to. It's heavier than the other Iron Maiden albums up to this point, and it's great. I think I can't say anything bad about it.
I agree with you, man. Production's fantastic. It's heavy. We talked about this throughout the podcast. It's wonderful. The artwork's fantastic. The listenability's fantastic. Another thing about this that I want to mention real quick, this is the only album that they've ever done where they played it in concert in its entirety from beginning to end. Different World all the way through to the Legacy, the entire album. So that tells you how proud of the album that the band is, and rightfully so. I mean, I've never got to see that live. Matt actually got a chance to see that live, and as far as I know, he fucking loved it. So
yeah, I mean, it was the first time I ever saw Iron Maiden, and it's I love the album, so I love seeing it in its entirety. I mean, there wasn't a lot of special effects that were added to the tour. There wasn't like that. We talked about in the last episode with Passion Down, Dance to Death. There wasn't any of the special production values. It was just the album, and the music, and it was, it lived up to the hype live.
I never got to experience that, but what he told me before, and all that kind of stuff, it's just amazing. And that goes to show you that they're very proud of that. There's a reason they played all 10 songs. They've never done that with any other album ever in its entirety.
I think it's the only album they played every song off of besides the original Iron Maiden album.
There you go. So what's I tell you about it? This is a very special album, and who wants to read first, man? I mean, I can't.
You go.
Let me get first.
Yeah.
This is hard for me. Maybe I'm exaggerating this.
I got a number. I got a number in my
head too. The production, the listenability, the fact that they played this album in its entirety, and it was amazing. It's hard for me not to give this album a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm saying, I was thinking 10 out of 10. It
has to be.
I'm not saying that this album is better than
Power
Slave, or Peace of Mind, or somewhere. It's hard for me to I'm not saying it means as much musically in metal history, but to me and Joe personally, this album is our Power Slave. We lived it. We listened to the hell out of this album. We listened to it over and over and over. This is as important as maybe some of the older fans that were there when Power Slave came out. It was that big a deal to them. This is this is our Power Slave. This is as big of a deal to us as it got.
Absolutely. I never get tired of listening to this album. I mean,
Like, I thought all week last week about hanging out, and I was like, man, am I going to give this album, like, a higher score than Brave New World? Like, I gave Brave New World a 9, I think.
I gave it
9.5, okay.
I gave it a 9.4.
And I was like, man, I'm, like, really, like, box myself in a corner here because I have to give this album more. And, like, then I was thinking about it, and I was listening to it, and we're here talking, like, this album's a 10. Like, it is. Like,
lyrically, production. I mean, it's fucking knocks it out of the park. It knocks it out of the fucking park. This album, I mean, I know we just gave the ratings a perfect 10 across the board here.
Yeah, we kind of talked about Maiden being a different band than they were in the 80s.
Exactly.
They're almost not the same band.
Yeah. The 80s were an isolated incident. This is like a completely different band. So don't say, like Matt just said earlier, like, you know, we're not taking this and trying to compare it to Power Slave. It's just for us and the nostalgic feeling of what it brings to us. And to this day,
don't write in the comments, well, you know, remember the Beast said, hell, be thy name and run to the hills. That's
exactly.
I mean, we can't argue with, like, the classic Iron Maiden. Like, we're not saying, like, it's more important. We're not saying it's necessarily even better. We're just saying, for us, as modern Iron Maiden listeners, this album's perfect. It is a 10 out of 10.
We have to wrap our nostalgia into the rating, and this is part of it. The first album that came out when we were fans, I mean, it has to be. It could have been the first album that came out when we were fans. Could have been Dance of Death, and we probably still would have given.
I remember even back in the day, we had a Facebook group about Iron Maiden, and like I went and I ranked all the albums, and I think at the time I ranked Matter of Death third out of every Iron Maiden album, and I still think that way today. Like I think it's that good. Like I think it's right up there.
It's up there with me. I mean, if I had to sit here and say what I listened to the most out of all the Iron Maiden albums, I'm going to be honest. I listened to Power Slave. Well, nowadays, Somewhere in Time, Power Slave, A Matter of Life and Death, then probably Peace of Mind, and then Number of the Beast. Like, that's my top 5 right there, like, that I listen to.
All time, like, what I've listened to the most out of Iron Maiden is probably this album. Like, I probably listen to this album more than I've listened to almost anything out of Iron Maiden.
As much as I listen to Power Slave and Run the Ancient Mariner and all the stuff I talked about in previous podcasts, you can listen to this too. I had a cassette deck in my car, I actually recorded the album and listened to this album constantly. I used to go back and forth to State College constantly. And I would listen to it about an hour away. Hour down, I listened to the whole album, and there was still a little bit left. And I sit in the car and finish the Legacy. I go, do what I need to do.
Can't cut the Legacy off. It's impossible. We used to do the same thing. We used to, we'd go somewhere, we'd hang out, and Joe would be driving me back to my house, and we get to my house, and it'd be like, 4 minutes left of the Legacy or whatever, man. We just sit there and listen to the rest of the Legacy, you know? Like, you had to.
You have to do it. And it sparked the interest for us to go out and pursue stuff that was related to literature and movies about the band. It's just, it's perfect album. There's no denying it. There's no denying it whatsoever. But please give it a listen if you guys out there, you know, are kind of like, oh, Matter of Life and Death isn't that great. You have to listen to it, and you have to appreciate it. Please listen to it more than once. This isn't like, you know, this is kind of like Seven Son in a way where, like, you kind of have to listen to it more than once to get into it. I mean, it's not like, there's not like a bunch of real quick rockers on here. This is a really deep, philosophical, epic album. Like Matt touched on earlier, we like epic stuff. If you like progressive metal, heavy progressive metal, please listen to this album. Guys, this is A Matter of Life and Maiden, which is named after this album, A Matter of Life and Death. And this is the podcast of the Beast. So, please, give it a listen. 10 out of 10 for the album, across the board. And hopefully you guys give us a 10 out of 10 too here at the podcast, because we're looking for some comments out there. But we appreciate you guys listening. This is really what this podcast is about, and it's because of this album that we are fans, and we're doing this, 12 years later. So, thanks everybody. Take care of yourselves. I'm Joe Labrador.
And I'm Matt Wagner.
Thanks for listening, guys.